Hello there, and thank you for tuning in to see what the world looks like through atheist eyes. I'm Frank Zindler from the American Atheist Press, and usually the atheist eyes through which you would be invited to view the world would be my eyes. Today, however, you'll again be seeing the world through two extra atheist eyes, the eyes of August Brunsman, the founder and executive director of the Secular Student Alliance. Let's see what he has to tell us about the history of the Secular Student Alliance and the part he played in that history. Welcome back. We are interviewing Mr. August Brunsman, the executive director of the Secular Student Alliance. For those of you who missed the first program in this series about his own personal intellectual development and philosophical development, you better go back and watch part one. This is part two of a series of interviews. What we want to talk about today, August, is how you came to be the founder of the Secular Student Alliance. Just a little bit of the prehistory, reprise that we talked a teensy bit about it in the first program, but review just a little bit leading up, we'll call the prehistory of Secular Student Alliance, and then take it away from there.
Absolutely. The prehistory starts with I went to a meeting of an atheist group at Ohio State before I was a freshman there, and Frank was a speaker, and I was excited for that group, and then I went to Ohio State in the fall, and that group had folded because all the leaders had graduated the summer in between. I was sad about that, but eventually got hooked up with the Council for Secular Humanism and went to a conference of theirs and met other leaders there who were also running campus groups. And they were getting something there started called the Campus Free Thought Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
And so I met a lot of those leaders and was involved, in sort of trying to, to not go too fast, after I met those leaders and came back from Cincinnati, which is where that conference was, I decided, and some of my other friends at the time were like, yeah, let's do this. Like, there are other students at other schools who are running these groups.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they can do it, we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we wrote up a constitution and came up with a name, which was Students for Free Thought, at the Ohio State University.
Right, don't forget the definite article.
It's very important, the definite article, yes.
Yeah.
So we got that started. The first meeting was actually January 12th, 1998, which that was my birthday. That's why I remember it. We had this group on campus, and it's since changed its name to the Secular Student Alliance at the Ohio State University. But it's still around all these years later. And so I got involved not just with running that group at Ohio State, but also got involved with kind of trying to help what the Council for Secular Humanism was doing. But over a couple of years, several of the other campus leaders and I kind of decided, like, it was great that what the council was doing, but that we really wanted there to be a independent organization that was there to specifically support student groups. That was unambiguously its purpose, and also we didn't want to be sort of beholden to any one particular secular label. So some students were really excited about the label humanist, others liked freethinker, others liked skeptic, others wanted to be agnostics or what have you, or atheists. So we came up with the Secular Student Alliance as kind of the most big
umbrella
tent.
term.
Exactly, precisely,
Yeah.
Yep. And we went with that, and we also wanted to make sure that the Freedom from Religion Foundation and American Atheists and the American Humanist Association, all those other nationals also kind of were able to support the secular student movement. So in 2000, along with 7 other people, ended up being one of the founders of the Secular Student Alliance.
One thing I want to mention to our viewers, August succeeded in doing something that I never was able to do. He was able to create an organization that had pretty much built-in continuity I had, on behalf of American Atheists, over the previous 5 or 6 years before I met August, had been going to different universities and colleges to try to set up student atheist or free thought groups. And the same thing happened at every one of them that he mentioned happened with Prometheus, i.e., there were really gung-ho leaders, and then they graduated.
Yep.
And then there was no continuity. Could you explain, August, how you have managed to bring continuity to this organization? So why is it that when gung-ho leaders such as yourself graduate, the group still continues to go on?
Sure. So, I mean, for me, the key is being intentional about it, right? So it has to be, when you're running a group, there's so many things to do. You've got to make sure you're reserving space. You've got to organize speakers. You've got to make sure you're keeping the members roster. You got to let your members know what's going on. There's a whole lot of work to do. But equally important to all of those tasks is succession planning. You have to be, and something I learned early on was that it doesn't work to just go to a group of people and say, hey, next year I'm not going to be president anymore, and somebody has to be the leader. I mean, I did say that, but nobody would respond, or very few people would respond to that kind of a call. Whereas, if I found somebody else in the group who I was like, you know what, that person gets things done when I ask them to get things done, and that person also seems like they have some charisma and some energy, I'm going to ask her, would you be the next president of this group? And I don't want to say that, nobody ever stepped up on their own, because that does happen, and that's great when it happens. It's really wonderful, but very deliberately, explicitly going to people and saying, will you be the leader? And then not vanishing. So so I was still around after my presidency. Well, the new president was around, and I was there to give advice. And be like, oh, well, when I ran into that problem, XYZ, or I've never run into that problem. That sounds terrible. Let me try to help. That kind of thing. And so it's really critical. The thing is that, you need to impart upon the next generation of leaders, hey, by the way, you're going to graduate too eventually. And you need to start thinking about this right now.
Exactly.
Thinking about that. And it is, a friend of mine used to say, or maybe he still says it, that organizing at a campus is like organizing at a bus stop, because everybody is coming and going all the time. It's very true. And you've just got to constantly be thinking about it. And it doesn't, and the reality is, of all of the Secular Student Alliance has hundreds of groups, and, every year we lose some. Every semester, actually, we lose some, and new ones come. And that's great. And we try very hard to get them in that realm of succession planning. We do find that there's sort of, once a group starts, it'll go for, I guess it's around 2 years. It's been getting a little bit longer. We've been getting them going. And if they can get over that first hump, that goes a long way to then getting into a state where they're likely to last for a much longer time.
A tradition of continuity is created.
Right. If they can do 2 leadership exchanges, they're more likely to be a group that's going to be sustainable for a long time.
Now, what year did you found this Secular Student Alliance?
The first meeting was in 1998. I think we filed the paperwork in 97.
And when did they change the name to Secular Students?
Oh gosh, that probably would have been, I'm gonna guess, 2012?
Oh, that late.
Yeah, it was a long time after that,
Okay.
So it wasn't until, I want to say 2009 is when we started actually encouraging our local affiliates to take our brand. That just kind of hadn't occurred to us, and anybody might want to. And then when we started offering it, lots of groups started taking us up on it, and now over half of our affiliates use the name Secular Student Alliance, and it's a really powerful tool. And
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that probably again is a good place to leave off, and we will then do one last interview on what the Secular Student Alliance is doing right now, how big is it, what are your plans, and where is it going to go. So for now, for American Atheists, I'm Frank Zindler, And we wish you that you will tune in again to see the last part of this interview with August Brunsman from the Secular Student Alliance.